Hello, and welcome to the Artificial Podcast with your host, Nick Myers.
Artificial
intelligence, voice recognition,
machine learning,
robotics,
actionable analytics.
It is Nick's goal to help everyone understand the impact that emerging technologies are having on our lives both personally and within our organizations. Your glimpse into the growing world of emerging technology starts now.
Nick Myers.
Nick Myers. Nick Myers.
Nick Myers.
So, Brett, if you could choose your next car, I should restart. Say you had an unlimited amount of money, which maybe you will one day, but imagine you had an unlimited amount of money. What would be your next car purchase?
Lamborghini.
Oh, would it be a Lamborghini?
Yep.
Gasoline powered?
Yep, a black one.
Not an electric vehicle?
No.
Why?
If the Lamborghini came in electric, I'd buy it. I wouldn't care. I just want a Lamborghini.
Oh, okay, so if the Lamborghini came in an electric model, then you would still get it. Okay.
I just want the look of the car. I don't care how it runs or what's inside of it. Honestly, I don't understand people that care about what's inside their car.
But the
I
good
got a
news,
V6 4-cylinder engine. Like, whatever. Does it look cool? Does the car look cool? Okay.
well, the good news is Tesla has a few models that I think look, well, okay, I shouldn't say they look close to a Lamborghini because nothing looks close to a Lamborghini. But I would imagine probably over the next 10 years, there will be an electric version of a Lamborghini because all car manufacturers are going that direction.
Yeah.
Which leads us into this week's topic, electric vehicles, which I know you're so excited to talk about there, Brett.
Yep.
Which really, I've wanted to talk about electric vehicles for some time just because there is a lot of hype around them currently.
Yeah.
Which honestly there probably should be because there is no reason why we couldn't be driving electric vehicles decades ago.
I remember 10-year-old Brett. Well, actually, how old was I? 1992. 2005, I saw this commercial, or not this commercial, but this article I was reading up on for some reason. I have no idea why. So I would have been, 13? Yeah, 13. And this car that expelled water out of his exhaust pipe instead of, carbon-based emissions. They said 2010 we'd have those, which I'm sure there's probably some cars out there, but I don't see them like they said they'd be around.
No, and there's a variety of reasons for that, which we'll talk about. But yes, this week we'll be talking about electric vehicles. Why so much hype? And with that being said, welcome back to another week and another episode of the Artificial Podcast. Nick Myers here, joined by my trusty sidekick, companion, and all-around best friend, Mr. Brett Brooks.
Hello.
And electric vehicles, I think, are on top of mind for, well, everybody right now, just because, well, I think the big reason is Tesla. Tesla's made the headlines so much over the last, well, specifically last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And they've been able to pivot electric vehicles, not pivot, pivot's the wrong word. They've been able to brand electric vehicles as the car of the future and make them cool, really, because I think we can agree that up until Tesla started releasing a lot of their newer model cars over the last few years, electric vehicles look kind of stupid.
Well, yeah, that's because they make them look stupid.
Like, nothing against the Toyota Prius, but I probably would have never bought one. Probably would never buy one, although that's not an entirely electric vehicle, that's a hybrid vehicle.
Plus,
But
everybody makes fun of Priuses, which doesn't
they
help.
do. I will never forget, so when I was younger, my Uncle Steve, of course, is very much into cars. The man eats, sleeps, and breathes cars, is the most knowledgeable person about cars I've ever met in my whole life, or
Yeah.
ever known in my whole life.
Yeah.
And we used to go to a car show. Do you remember Quaker Steak and Lube in Middleton?
Is it still Quaker Steak? I don't think
No,
it's
I don't think it's called that. I think it's
stop and
Wing-
go or something.
Wing Stop. I don't know what they changed it
I don't
to,
know.
but you remember Quaker Steak and Lube in Middleton.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen all the cars there.
So every Wednesday during the summer, they used to have car night. So, of course, because my uncle owns a side business where he buys and sells cars, he would always have a really cool car to bring to car night. And I'll
Yep.
never forget one time going with him. There must have been some type of hybrid get together or hybrid event
Yeah.
in town. And you have all of these muscle cars, these, Corvettes, Mustangs, Vipers,
I remember being
Cadillac, sports
remember-
cars.
I remember back in the day going to your house and he had like a Firebird in his garage or whatever.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
I'm talking muscle cars from like the 60s and 70s. I mean, that's the type of people and the type of vehicles that are at this thing. And then all of a sudden, all these hybrids roll in. All these Toyota Prius hybrids roll in. And they're dirty, and the people driving them
They're
are clear-
dirty.
Like people with classic cars and muscle cars take pride in the fact that they own these cars.
Yeah.
So they're spotless, right? You know my uncle with how clean his cars are.
Almost like dirty would be like there's like a speck of dust on that car.
Okay,
Like,
no, but I'm talking about like it looks like your car after you haven't washed it for a month.
why would they have it that dirty?
Good question, but they roll in with these hybrids, and all the people driving them are like granola people, and they start parking
What's a
them along.
granola person? What's granola? Like a hippie?
Yeah, like
Okay.
people in Madison, granola people.
Okay.
Sorry. Anyhow, it's just all these hybrids are there, like alongside these really sweet looking muscle cars, and they pull out their laptops and they start connecting them to the hybrid vehicles. It was the funniest thing ever. And the look on my uncle's face was
Yeah,
just priceless.
Yeah, Steve, what is he just talking under his breath? Like,
It's like, what the hell are these people doing here?
goddamn granola people.
Well, and that was back in like 2009, 2010, 2011, when, remember, gas got really expensive around
Yeah.
that time. I think
Yeah.
it was the average price in the U.S. either was near $4 a gallon or just over $4 a gallon. It was very expensive in Wisconsin, I remember. And that was when everybody was trying to offload their SUVs and their crossovers to get hybrid vehicles because the government was offering incentives with the cash for clunkers thing. So anyhow, there was this huge movement with hybrid vehicles. So apparently Madison hosted some type of hybrid vehicle fest, and all these people rolled into this muscle car show, and it was just the funniest thing ever. But even then, I was like, I never buy one of those.
Yeah.
And not, I know if you're somebody who's listening who owns a Prius, if you love it, that's great. They're just not for me.
Tesla has made them look sexy because whenever
Oh,
I'm on
absolutely.
like I was riding into the office Friday and I saw a Tesla in front of me. I'm like, oh, a Tesla. That'd be cool to have one of those.
Because the brand, right? They've done what Apple has done, where it's not so much just the technology behind the product you're buying, but it's how it makes you feel. And Tesla has been able to do that, where Tesla has branded themselves where they're on par with like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche.
Their logo looks
I
cool
mean,
too.
And the cars, some of them are just as expensive, if not more expensive, because they're packed with technology, and they're just really cool-looking cars. And I think in the section later when we talk about what are some of the coolest EVs out there right now, we'll take a look at some. I know my next car, if I can manage, is going to be a Tesla. There's no question about it.
I'm sure you can manage.
And they have self-driving capability, too. I mean, they're so cool. Anyhow.
Yeah, but also, question for you. If you ever did get an electric vehicle, would you miss the...
No. No.
Nope, you'd like the quiet, no noise,
It
nothing.
still makes noise. It's just not the sound of a
It's not-
gasoline engine.
It's not a muscle car,
No.
but it can go as fast as a muscle car.
Faster. And in
Yeah,
fact,
fa-
we'll
yeah, yeah,
talk
faster.
about this, but with an electric vehicle, you get instant torque because when you have a gasoline engine, right, when the engine burns the gasoline,
Yeah, I combust that shit.
energy is lost in that process, and then it transfers the energy to the transmission, further losing the energy in the process before it hits the wheels.
Yep.
So it takes some time to get up to speed, no matter how great the engine is. With an
Right.
electric vehicle, it is instant torque because
Yep.
energy isn't lost. We'll talk about that, but I just think that's really cool as well. But I think we should probably break down quick what exactly is an EV or an electric vehicle. Well, an electric vehicle, or EV for short, which is so much easier than saying electric vehicle, is really an automobile that runs entirely on electricity, no liquid fuel required.
Do they call it EVs? I feel like
Yes.
that has ruined their reputation.
It's just, it's the
That's a
acronym.
Pokemon.
Shut up, Brett. That's EVEE, not EV.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, there are also hybrid electric vehicles that run on a combination of electricity and liquid fuel, and that's the Toyota Prius and flex fuel vehicles. Well, no, not flex fuel vehicles. Flex fuel vehicles run on gasoline and ethanol. Hybrid vehicles like the Prius that run on a combination of electricity and gasoline have been around for quite a long time.
Yeah,
at
the
this
ones
point.
that shut off at the stoplight make me wonder, is the car going still?
Yes,
Oh, man.
Brett, those.
Yep.
And a major feature of electric vehicles is that drivers, of course, can plug them in to charge them from an off-board electric power source. So you can plug it into your home, you can plug it into a charging station. But that's one of the benefits, too, is you don't necessarily have to go to, like, a dedicated gas station, right? You can charge it from your house if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And electric vehicles have been growing in popularity over the last decade due really to growing concerns about climate change, which is front and center
You thought
all
about
the
that,
time, as it should be these
Nick?
days.
That'd be great. That'd be a great excuse from now on to like not go to a certain events. Just be like, sorry, I forgot to charge my car. I can't get there.
Brett, always looking for ways to get out of seeing people. But the reason electric vehicles have been front and center is really because of climate change and really the increase in efficiency and lower cost of lithium-ion batteries, which historically have been the most expensive part of an electric vehicle and made it very impractical to buy and own one just because lithium-ion batteries are so expensive. But
Yeah.
the technology has gotten a lot better. Lithium-ion batteries have gotten a lot cheaper, making it more practical and feasible for regular consumers who are not ultra-wealthy to own an electric vehicle. And EV makers like Tesla have also branded, as we talked about, EVs as the cars of the future and have made owning and driving an electric vehicle cool and a luxury, which, again, is really smart branding on their end. Now, most electric vehicles have a range of about 80 to 100 miles, but a few luxury models, specifically a lot of the Tesla cars, have ranges of up to 250 miles or more. And
crazy.
I think that's across the board now, where even the ones that Ford is producing and some of the other automakers, they're getting up there in terms of the range you can have with an electric vehicle.
That's about the range you get with the full gas tank too. So, you know.
Well, my car gets a range of about 400 and something miles when filled
Yeah,
up.
but it says that. But do you actually get that much? Do you
I guess that's a good point.
you watch the numbers drop and write it down as it drops? Because when I worked for R&M Rehab for 3 years, I would fill my gas tank up and it would say, "You got 500 miles to go." And it would probably be like 350 at the end of the day.
Well, maybe not, but I'm just going by what my car says, and when I fill it up, I typically get between 400 to 500. There's actually been times where I filled it up enough where I actually get over 500 mile range.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it basically just goes off of your miles per gallon.
Well, it also
at that current
depends.
given moment on your computer.
It also depends, right, too, whether you're driving city or highway. Like, if you're
Correct.
driving city, you're going to burn more fuel because of the constant stopping and going
Correct.
versus highway.
Correct.
You
Where
don't have to do that.
when I worked for that job, I was on the highway constantly. So my miles per gallon one was like, 35, 36 that I was getting. So I'd be up to 500. Now
Yeah.
I don't drive on the highway at all. And I'm at 28 and it says I'm going to get 350 when I fill up.
Yeah. Well,
But
I got it.
These days I fill up like twice a year.
What shocked me is my Nissan Maxima has a V6, but my average MPG is usually between 27 to 30, which is pretty good for a car with a V6 engine in it.
Mhm.
So, anyhow,
That's why you have V6 too. So
we digress. So that's what EVs are. But what does the history of electric vehicles look like?
this blew my mind.
Yeah, this is actually really neat.
This
We're
blew
about
my
to talk
mind.
about here.
When I think when you think of electrical vehicles, what year do you put in your head, Nick?
Honestly, mid-late 90s.
Yeah, I put like late 90s, like early 2000s in my head when I think of like electrical vehicles coming around.
Aha! But
What's
in
the actual year?
reality, electric vehicles were first introduced about 100 years ago. More than 100 years ago.
Yeah, you said 1890, right?
Yes, around 1890, which is
That's
crazy to think
insane.
about because it seems like such a new development, but
It's not.
humans have been working on electric vehicles for well over 100 years. And in the US, the first successful electric car made its debut around 1890, thanks to a chemist from Des Moines, Iowa named William Morrison. His electric vehicle could reach a top speed, wait for it, of 14 miles per hour.
Hey, that's pretty impressive because you think about carts and buggies, back then.
Right.
That's impressive.
Well, and his EV, although it could reach 14 miles per hour, was little more than an electrified wagon. Honestly, horse and buggy could still probably go faster. But
Yeah, probably.
it helped create interest in electric vehicles. So yes, the first EV was created back in 1890. And in 1898, Ferdinand Porsche, of course the founder of the sports car company Porsche, developed an EV called the P1. And around the same time, he also created the first hybrid electric car. That was in 1898. And cool. Around that time as well, Thomas Edison, of course, the founding father of electricity, as we like to call him, thought, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Thomas Edison thought EVs were the superior technology and actually was working to build a better vehicle battery. So what we were just talking about, it was either before we started recording or early on. Imagine if Thomas Edison had been given the resources to actually create a really good electric vehicle battery. Fast forward 100 years, imagine what that would look like right now.
That's what I was asking you. I was like, so if we just went with electrical vehicles and then gas never happened, how would we operate these cranes, these cement trucks, dump trucks, all on electrical?
I truly think everything would be powered by electricity.
But then I followed that up by saying, if we had that technology early on and we built onto it, maybe we could have had electrical cranes, electrical dump trucks, electrical cement trucks.
I think everything would be running on really advanced lithium-ion batteries at this point.
Yeah,
truthfully.
Yeah.
And
how things could it be different? But nope, we have to stay in the Stone Age because oil companies want money.
Well, and the thing is, so yes, the oil market was booming back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. There's no doubt about that. But really, the death knell for electric vehicles back then came with the advances with the internal combustion engine and the Model T. Mm-hmm. So really, right as electric vehicles were starting to boom, the gasoline-powered internal combustion engine became really cheap because of Henry Ford's Model T. And of course, gasoline was so plentiful, it was really cheap to run these things. Because by 1900, and from between 1900 to 1910, electric vehicles were actually at their heyday, and they accounted for more than a third of all vehicles on the road in the U.S.
That's crazy.
Now, let alone we look at the U.S. in 1900, and it is nowhere near as big as it is now, so it's still relatively small numbers compared to our population today. But a third back then was a large chunk of that market.
Correct. And especially they're super expensive.
Right, especially as most people didn't own vehicles. But when Henry Ford's Model T came out, which was introduced in 1908, that was pretty much it for electric vehicles. Because the gasoline-powered Model T, due to the way that what was the innovation? You know how he designed his factories, mass production? He's the father of mass production.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't think of the term that was used for it.
Something lines.
Assembly lines.
Assembly lines.
Yeah, he was literally the chief innovator of the assembly line of mass production, which again reduced the cost of the Model T. So for perspective, around that time, the gasoline-powered Model T cost about $680, which in 1908 is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but an electric roadster cost $1,750.
Crazy prices.
Yes. So
today
that seems like nothing.
I like to think today that'd be like 80 grand.
Be a lot of money. I don't know.
I'm completely spitballing there, but that's what I'm saying.
Right. Let's just say to own a car even back then was pretty expensive, but because the Model T lowered the barrier or the cost to entry so much, more and more people could afford to drive a vehicle. And then the invention of the electric starter shortly after the release of the Model T led to even more gasoline-powered vehicle sales, because prior to the electric starter, you had to crank up your gasoline-powered vehicle to get it going.
Did you have to crank it to get the spark?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So then they released the electric starter, and that changed everything.
That's so stupid.
So, And then on top of that, crude oil was just flowing in the United States. They had recently found more oil in Texas after they had found all the oil in the Rust Belt region.
Black gold.
And it was just flowing. There was more oil than anybody knew what to do with. So Americans also became more affluent during that time because our economy was booming, and internal combustion engine vehicle sales roared, while electric vehicles lost popularity and faded in obscurity for much of the rest of the 20th century.
Is that kind of scary, Nick? It's like
what?
Crude oil was just flowing, and it was abundant back then. And
it was.
100 years later, we're flipping our shit about it. It's like, what are we going to do in 200 years? Like,
did you know?
Where are we going to be in 200 years with oil?
If John D. Rockefeller was still alive today and he had the wealth that he had accumulated from oil in the 1800s and 1900s, he would be the richest person on the planet with a net worth of almost $400 billion.
That's crazy.
Adjusted for inflation.
That's crazy.
That's how rich that man was from oil.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So you can see why the mindset shifted from electricity to crude oil and gasoline very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was just what they discovered in the United States, because keep in mind, most of the world's oil was coming from the U.S. at that time. This was before they even discovered the oil deposits out in the Middle East and Canada and elsewhere. So, and
thank you, dinosaurs.
EVs, again, they faded into obscurity for much of the rest of the 20th century. However, a renaissance for electric vehicles began to occur once again in the 1990s, which is, of course, what you and I think, is really when electric vehicles got started.
Yeah, like modern electric vehicles.
And this was due in part to the passage of the Clean Air Act and the Energy Policy Act, which, of course, provided more federal assistance to R&D in electric vehicles. Yeah. And then in 1997, Toyota released the world's most successful hybrid car, the Toyota Prius, which, of course, we already reflected on just a bit ago. And then, in 2006, a small, at the time, Silicon Valley startup called Tesla started to gain some attention with a focus on producing luxury electric vehicles. And today, flash forward to 2021, Tesla is one of the largest producers of electric vehicles in the world.
Isn't that cool how, like, what would actual Tesla think, the person? Isn't that cool how he used his name for recognition?
I do, because
for all
truth
these
be
years
told,
we've said Edison, but Tesla was actually the one that...
Well, right, because truth be told, when you look at history, Nikola Tesla was really the one who made a lot of advancements in electricity. Edison was a very intelligent, smart inventor, but he was definitely more of a businessman than a true inventor. Tesla was a true scientist and a true inventor, who unfortunately did not get nearly as much credit as he should have gotten. Yeah,
because Edison was he kind of copied it, the light bulb, but he commercialized it first.
Correct. And in fact, he was really the founding father of fake it till you make it, because he was actively working on the incandescent light bulb and had sold it to all these people before it was even finished.
We can equate him to Ray Kroc.
I don't know if Ray Kroc went by the fake it till you make it philosophy, but sure.
No, I'm just saying, like, McDonald's brothers had their McDonald's, right? And Ray Kroc swooped in and commercialized it.
Yes.
Well, took all the money.
We're not giving Edison enough credit, though, because he really did invent the incandescent light bulb at the end of the day.
Okay.
But he also was very much a fake it till you make it person and was a very ruthless businessman. Yep. Which all the really successful business people are ruthless, which sometimes makes me question myself as I'm trying to start a startup, because I don't know if I could ever be that ruthless. But
just be a hybrid. Be a nice, ruthless person.
Yeah, but all the incredibly wealthy business people are legit ruthless. So
I know. Well, you don't have to be a billionaire. You can be a millionaire.
Anyhow. But yeah, today Tesla is one of the largest producers of electric vehicles in the world. So
okay.
But how do electric vehicles work? Big batteries.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that the answer to that question, or?
I was just trying to be funny, but it's true.
So what, do they use like A's instead of double A's?
You're so funny. That was such a funny joke. I can't even begin to freaking handle how funny that joke was.
Why do you keep inviting me back onto this podcast?
I don't know. I ask myself that a lot. Because you're easy. You always say yes.
Yeah, true. I'm always around.
But it's true. Electric vehicles work with really, really, really big batteries, or very big batteries are what powers electric vehicles. So I'm also going to pull up this diagram pretty quick because I think it does a really good job at putting into perspective electric vehicles. So this is a really good diagram that the Department of Energy put together as to how electric vehicles work. But I'll run through it while we have the diagram up on the screen. So AEVs, or all electric vehicles, I forgot there's a couple more acronyms in there. So all electric vehicles use electricity stored in lithium-ion batteries as their main source of fuel, right?
Yep.
And when an EV is charging, the electricity is collected and stored in a traction battery pack that sits here in the bottom chassis of the car.
Man, I didn't know that battery was that big, and it was on the bottom.
Yes, and they are composed of dozens of lithium-ion batteries. So it's very heavy, very big, but it sits right here underneath the chassis. So this is a cutout of what that looks like.
Why did I think it was the size of a battery in a regular car, and it was in the front?
You know, I actually kind of thought that too until I did all this research.
Yeah, I did not know.
No, this is how big they are. And
I guess
imagine,
I guess that's where the gas tank sits in a normal car, right?
yeah,
Somewhere relatively around there.
but a gas tank I don't think is nearly as heavy as all these batteries either.
Probably not. I'd
So-
like to do a weight comparison because I wonder how much electric cars weigh compared to a gasoline car.
That'd be interesting. I didn't find anything on that, but I'd imagine in some cases electric vehicles are probably way heavier.
Maybe while you're talking, I can look that up because I'm actually kind of curious.
So here's where all the batteries sit for an electric vehicle. Now, when the electric vehicle is started, the electricity from the battery pack is transferred to the electric traction motor that drives the vehicle's wheels, right? And the electric traction motor then funnels the electric energy to the vehicle's electric transmission, which creates instant torque with the wheels because compared to gasoline, much more of the energy from the stored electricity can be immediately transferred to the wheels versus having to go through a process of energy transference where the energy from burning gasoline is lost in that process, and it takes a while, of course, for that energy to be transferred to the wheels in a gasoline-powered vehicle for it to start moving versus an electric vehicle, it's instant torque. And that is why when you compare an electric vehicle to a gasoline-powered vehicle, say both were at a dead stop, the electric vehicle will always outperform the gasoline vehicle because there is no hesitation. It is just, boom, go. Which I think is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting part of this, electric vehicles convert over 77% of the electric energy from the power grid to power the wheels. So out of the electricity that is used from the grid to charge the vehicle, 70% of that is used to actually power the wheels. Now, when you compare that to gasoline vehicles only convert about 14 to 30% of the energy that is stored in the gasoline to the wheels. So you can see the difference there in how much energy is used specifically to power the movement of the car.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as I was doing this research and thinking about it, it occurred to me that with a gasoline-powered vehicle, humans are essentially driving a bomb down the road.
With a what?
I said,
Say that again?
I said, with a gasoline-powered vehicle, we're essentially driving a bomb down the road
Yeah.
because it's incredibly flammable.
Yeah, every time you turn your car on, you're doing a little mini explosion that could chain to a big explosion, but it doesn't.
Right? But think about that. Like, we're comfortable with the fact that we get into a thing that is essentially a bomb
Yeah, it can blow up and kill
every
you.
day.
Yeah, every day.
Whereas an electric vehicle, you don't really have to worry about that. I guess there's something to be said about lithium-ion batteries.
They have Android phones in their pockets.
Shut up, Brett. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, I guess to me, it's different than an electric vehicle, though, because it's not a liquid burnable fuel that's creating fire within a contained space.
Yeah.
An electric vehicle doesn't do that.
Correct.
Which,
Yep, you're basically driving a bomb.
yeah.
I looked up the weight difference. A lot of articles were saying like 300 to 500 pound difference. So I thought it'd be more.
That's not too much. Well, I guess it also depends on the type of vehicle. Like,
Yeah,
the
that's why I said
comparison from a
that's why I
car
said
versus a truck.
500. Well, yeah.
But yeah, so that's how electric vehicles work, which I think is pretty cool. And just far more efficient than gasoline-powered vehicles. I think the fact that an electric vehicle uses way more energy from the electricity that is collected from the grid versus the minuscule amount of energy that ends up making it to the wheels from burning gasoline, that should just be rationale. That should be just be more than enough rationale right there to be like, okay, it's really time to switch over to electric vehicles, just for the sake of that alone.
I mean, I understand people who have to drive along like a lot, but for like a daily commute of like 15 minutes, like just go get a freaking electric vehicle.
Well, that's actually what the electric vehicles 100 years ago were used for. They were typically owned by women who would they'd use them as town cars when they'd have to go into the city or they'd have to go on errands.
I'm sure it's like 60% of this population is like just daily commutes of like 15 to 30 minutes.
Right. But the thing is, with Tesla's semi-truck electric vehicle, that could change that industry too.
Yeah.
One of the largest consumers of diesel fuel in the United States and the world is trucking.
Yep,
So,
but what are all the oil conglomerates like that?
but
I don't like it at all.
which brings me into the benefits of electric vehicles, right? So, what are some of the benefits of EVs? Well, if all light-duty vehicles, light-duty meaning like cars and
Petrol.
personal trucks and stuff, all light-duty vehicles are transitioned to electric vehicles in the U.S., our dependency on foreign oil would decrease by 30 to 60%.
Yep.
Yep. Not only that, but electricity, of course, can be generated from renewable sources such as solar, wind, water, and nuclear, whereas gasoline must be derived from non-renewable fossil fuels.
Correct.
And EVs emit no tailpipe pollutants, and as such, do not pollute the air. Go figure.
Wow.
Go figure.
We'll be able to breathe easier then.
And they also reduce energy dependence since electricity is a domestic energy source. We don't have to obtain the energy from a foreign source. We can produce all of our electricity domestically and locally, making it cheaper. And as lithium-ion batteries continue to become cheaper, it may be cheaper to actually purchase an electric vehicle over a gasoline-powered vehicle and be more cost-efficient to drive an electric vehicle than a gasoline-powered vehicle. I think we're looking at that over the next 10 years. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
By 2030, I think a majority of the vehicles on the road are going to be electric vehicles.
My next car, I'm definitely going to try and get electric, for sure.
And you know this is the mindset because you have Ford and General Motors and Toyota and dozens of other automakers outside of Tesla that are investing heavily into electric vehicle research and development. And that's a great thing because more competition will create better vehicles and lower the price for consumers.
Yep.
So, although Teslas may seem expensive to own now, there's a really good chance that they'll drop in price as Ford releases more electric vehicles, GM releases more electric vehicles, Toyota, even some of the luxury car brands release more electric vehicles. So that's on the horizon.
Lowers prices.
And really, when you look at an electric vehicle, they're essentially computers on wheels because these cars are packed with so much technology.
Yep.
I mean, gasoline-powered cars are packed with technology, but these things really are packed with technology. So, what are some of the coolest electric vehicles you can buy today? Any idea, Brett?
Well, I would assume the Tesla, obviously.
And that's actually the first one we are going to look at here, as a matter of factly. We are going to look at the Tesla that I hope to one day own.
One day,
would be great.
The next decade.
So the first one here is the Tesla Model S. Oh my gosh.
The front of it looks nice. The back of it, kind of boxy. Don't like it.
Well, you didn't even see the back yet.
I can see it. I can see the side profile.
Well, anyhow, if you look here, 390-mile range, 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
That
fast. Is melt your face fast. 200 mile per hour top speed.
What?
And 1,020 peak horsepower.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want it.
This mofo is fast. And then the interior.
Look at
how clean and sleek and futuristic that is. That's the steering wheel, yeah.
I call that a steering wheel. It's like a steering box.
But the thing is, because it's self-driving, do you really need the steering wheel?
No.
But that's what I love about what Tesla did here, because they are really positioning it as the car of the future. Look at the console and the screen. This is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what you get. All the vents are probably hidden. I have not been in a Model S, but I'd imagine the vents are relatively obscured. And then front and center, you have a spot for your phone. So they are really focusing on the tech aspect.
Yes.
And this is the back seat, by the way.
Dude, that looks sick. I want one now. I don't know if I like that steering wheel.
And then you have a screen in the back, which, by the way, you can play video games on.
The steering wheel's kind of crap. Like, I like having my hand on the 10 and 2, you know?
To each and everyone's own. I think
I
it's
don't
cool.
have my hands on 10 and
But
2.
yeah, look, you can game from anywhere. Up to 10 teraflops of processing power enables in-car gaming on par with today's newest consoles. Wireless controller compatibility lets you game from any seat.
Yeah, what's on the screen? I feel like I realized that. What is that game?
I don't know.
Can you maximize the screen? It is not that important. Or
No.
Control scroll in.
I don't know what that is. Oh, it looks like Grand Theft Auto.
Scroll in. I'm so curious. I'm so curious.
What have you done?
Shift. Scroll up. There you go. I don't know. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I can't scroll in any more than that. You're going to have to live without it.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Anyhow.
I didn't think it turned into that.
22 speaker, 960 watt audio system. Ugh. Look at, because there's no engine, you get more storage too, right?
Yeah.
So you can store things in the front and the back. I think this was like my next dream car right here. And here's the powertrain. So cool. So there's the back.
Oh, it's okay. Looks fine.
Yeah, but this is my dream car, or next dream car, I should say. I'd love to own one of these.
Sick. So then, how would you go about charging these then? Like,
The good news is Tesla has greatly expanded their network of charging stations all across the United States, and the federal government has invested a lot of money into public charging stations as well, which I think there's over 18,000.
I understand that, but like, what if you want to charge at your home? Do they give you like a charging thing?
Yeah, you can buy an adapter and plug it into your house.
And then how much does that increase the pricing on your electric bill?
From what I was able to read, not substantially.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, consider the cost savings from not buying gasoline.
Well, it would have to be like, if it increases per month? If my electric bill goes up like $30, then that'd be still saving money, I guess. I don't know. You'd have to.
Well, you got to also consider how much you drive, right?
I don't drive a lot anymore,
So most people who buy them are saving a lot of money from not having to purchase gasoline, and there's also less maintenance because with an internal combustion engine, you have spark plugs, you have coolant solution, you have all this stuff that you also don't have with an electric vehicle. So the maintenance is cheaper.
That's true.
And the federal government is offering a bunch of tax credits right now for buying electric vehicles, so you're saving money when you buy the car.
Okay.
So that's why to me it's super advantageous to do this. So this is the Tesla Model S. This is probably my favorite one. And then I think it was last week Ford just unveiled their F-150 Lightning. So the F-150 is the best-selling truck of its class in the United States, and they've just made it electric. And this is what it looks like. So it's 100% electric. They're kind of going with what Tesla did here, where the entire console is a touch screen.
Oh, you know it's going to get shit from people.
Biden actually went and drove one. I think it was last week.
He said he's going to run over that woman.
And it went off like a rocket, too. It was super fast. Yeah.
Oh, what a joke. What a jokester.
But yeah, I think this actually looks pretty cool. The thing is, you can't even really tell that it's an electric vehicle, minus the fact it doesn't have tailpipes or anything, right?
Well, you just know it's going to get
And look
shit
at the front here. Look, you pop it open and you can have storage space in there.
What's the demographic of these trucks? country boy, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, but pretty soon Country
Get the
Boy's gonna be
emails all ready to go for the
Country Boy's gonna be driving one of these pretty soon.
Oof.
And you can actually, because this truck holds so much power, say your electricity goes out in your house, you could power your home with this truck for a period of time.
Well, hopefully the sales go off. It'd be nice to see if people drive that more.
I think it's just neat to see Ford investing in electric vehicles like this because it does change the game somewhat. So
Yeah.
300-mile range, which is pretty good. I just love. I mean, it's so weird. There's no engine. It's all underneath. I think it's so
Yeah.
cool. And they see the advertising, the torque, all this stuff. So that's the Ford F-150 Lightning.
So you basically you have a trunk in the back and you have a trunk in the front now. Is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
And then we have the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is an electric Mustang. So, honestly, I'm not a... It looks like a chest... It looks... What? What'd you say?
Oh, wait.
Well, you can think it looks cool.
It looks cool there, and then it looks like a mom car there.
I think it looks cool, but it also reminds me of the Chester Cheetah.
It looks cool there.
Chester Cheeto Mobile.
It's like I'm gonna take my kids to soccer practice.
I mean, it's very futuristic. They're all going with these big touch panel consoles and all this different stuff, but this is a very good selling car, but all electric as well, starting at $42,895. I guess,
much?
yeah, there it looks pretty cool.
How much was that?
$42,000?
A little pricey for me.
Yeah, but remember, you're never... And this isn't including, but like to their point here, that's the MSRP, but that's not including the $7,500 federal tax credit.
Correct. It's also a Mustang.
Right. So, but 0 to 60, 3.5 seconds, 305-mile range. So,
How much was
again,
the Tesla? I didn't see the price of the Tesla we looked at. How much was that?
what is this one? I think this one is... Oh, yeah. If you want to go with the tri-motor all-wheel drive, it's $114,000. But if you want to go for the long-range dual-motor all-wheel drive, it's $74,000.
Oh! Okay, yeah.
Now, remember, this is like their luxury sports car model. You can still get a Model 3 for, a Model 3 is like, I think their best-selling one right now, and I think these are far cheaper. Yeah, the Model 3 is like $35,000.
There, that's where I thought the prices were.
And then you can get the long-range one for like $44, performance for $52. So yeah, the Model 3 is like...
Yeah, that's a little bit more reasonable.
Their middle-class car. I don't care, though. This is my dream. The Model S is my dream one. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. And then we have Audis getting into the game with their 2022 e-tron. So these are all electric Audis. Of course, because it's an Audi, it already is more expensive. So these are starting at just under $100,000. But again, you get federal tax credits. But these look cool, don't they?
Yeah, that looks slick.
Yeah, that's
that
a pretty cool looking car.
Slick.
I like the blue color on that. Oh, look at the interior. That's awesome. That's cool. That's cool.
I like the black and red.
Yeah, that looks sweet. So yeah, Audi's getting into the game. And then we have Chevrolet, which is funny because Chevrolet released the Volt a couple years ago, which I think it did okay, but not great. So now they have the Chevy Bolt electric vehicle.
Not sell cars.
What'd you say?
We just not sell cars.
What do you mean?
Like, what is that design?
They're trying to make
Let's take a smart car that everybody hated. And let's take that Prius that everybody hated. And why don't we put them together and try and sell?
I'm not a big fan of the design either, but some person may like to buy this, It is all electric. The MSRP starts at $36,500, so it's more affordable. 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, which isn't,
If it saves the earth.
This is like something you buy if you live in a suburb and you only do local driving.
Yeah, and you have 3 kids named Tyler, Katie, and Kathleen.
You made me snort. Because it's true. And see, just for everybody who's listening to this and not seeing it, this is why you need to go to YouTube now to watch our episodes, because you get to see more of what we're talking about, because it's hard to, of course, put this into a solid word form. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the design either, but I mean, it's an option. It's popular. So, anyhow, that's about all I have to say on electric vehicles.
Yeah, that was a good topic. I like that.
I think it'll be interesting to see how much more electric vehicles penetrate the market over the next couple of years. Like I said, I know my next car is going to be an electric vehicle. Of course, I still have 2 years left on paying on my car, which I love my car dearly, but I'm all aboard the electric vehicle Tesla train.
I'm with you on that. I definitely want to get one of those in the next decade. But
Yeah.
having my car, my brand new car that I bought 5 years ago, paid off now, having no bill every month is great.
And also, gas is just going to naturally get more expensive because it's not renewable. And even though they're saying we have plenty of oil underneath the Earth's surface still, I don't buy that.
Dude, they've been saying that since the 70s.
I'm serious though. I don't buy it. I don't. I think
You
the
don't
rate of
buy it.
I think the rate of consumption has been so much. I mean, look at the levels.
I highly doubt that.
Brett, look at the
there's probably
levels of
oceans of oil.
look at the level of greenhouse gases and pollutants in the air over the last 100 years because of oil.
I get the idea of we should get away from it, but I think we have oceans of oil. I think it could last for around 300 years.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
Brett, there are 7 billion people on this planet, approaching 8 billion, and
Yeah, the population is going to go down. It's going to plateau here in the next 7 years.
who said that?
I guarantee you by 2070, we're going to have a plateau, if not dipping back down in our population on the Earth.
Well, I read a research report last year that by 2100, the world is actually going to be in a population deficit.
Correct. So, either way, we should stray away from all this from the industrial age and oil and all that and crap, even if we have a lot of it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm all for embracing electric vehicles. I think we should have done this long ago. And again, it's interesting to note that it was being worked on 100 years ago. Where would we be today if
Right? I can say that about a lot of things.
electric vehicles became the primary mode of
If we would have
transportation?
embraced this certain thing, some years ago.
Now, it'd be interesting to see if lithium-ion batteries can be applied to, say, aircraft or
Electric airplanes.
other modes of transportation that use gasoline, such as, well, we know Tesla released the electric-powered semi-truck, but to your point, like cranes and construction equipment, and I think it's entirely possible. There's just going to have to be a lot more R&D done with batteries.
Well,
And the ability to get the electricity from the grid to
it's crazy because
the vehicle or the...
we'll
whatever.
always need oil until an electric machine can build another electric machine. Right now, we need oil machines to create electric machines.
Correct.
So it's kind of a sticky situation. You want
But that's what I still don't get either is
You want to make sure
electricity.
that you switch to electric in time before oil runs out, right?
Well, I think that's what the goal is. And
Yeah.
also the fact that we're trying not to all die from climate change
Correct.
because of what we've
That-
done.
that as well.
But to me, it makes so much sense because electricity can be produced by entirely renewable means. You know?
Mhm.
Like, solar makes so much sense. The sun's not going anywhere as far as we know. Wind, that's not going anywhere as far as we know. Yeah, you start crossing the line with nuclear, but it's still renewable.
Nuclear is a good way to go if we actually know how to if we actually learn how to hone it and use it.
Well, we do. People are just afraid of it.
Well, yeah, they're obviously afraid of it because of things that have happened in the past.
Right, but...
I think we're way better than what we were in the past, and we should not be as afraid.
So, well, right, like Chernobyl, that was... I place something like Chernobyl in a category all on its own. What happened with Fukushima in Japan, had that tsunami not happened, they would never have had any issues.
Yeah.
So that was something outside of their control.
Because when I read something like the size of a hockey puck can generate enough power to last 30 years or something like that. It was something crazy.
What, with nuclear?
Yeah.
Yes, you can create a lot of energy. The thing is, what's bad about nuclear is, yeah, the fuel rods can produce a lot of energy over a long period of time, but when they're spent, because they're so radioactive, where do you dispose of them? And right now we're disposing of them in mountains.
Yep.
So, and then what you got to worry about too is proliferation of that nuclear material by nefarious actors who want to create bombs and such.
Yeah. So
I think send it into space.
send it into space?
Yeah, take all the nuclear material, stick it on a rocket, send it into the sun. Perfect.
I mean, I guess if Elon's putting all those satellites up into space right now, I'm guessing a little bit of nuclear waste going up there with it isn't that big of a deal.
Has anybody ever thought about but seriously,
into the sun?
Yeah,
Nuclear waste into the sun?
But has anybody ever thought about this? The sun would be a fantastic way to get rid of garbage.
Well, you know what? What if all of a sudden it starts expanding and then we're just deep fried chicken on the earth?
What does that have to do with sending garbage into the sun?
I'm just saying, like, what if all of a sudden the garbage that we have been sending into the sun, I know the sun is huge, and the garbage that is minuscule compared to the sun that we be sending it into it, but what if for some reason the nuclear waste expands the sun by
Brent, do you have any idea how massive and powerful our sun is?
I understand. What if something made it bigger? Just by a millimeter.
That would...
We'd burn alive.
That would potentially be catastrophic.
Yeah.
But
so
I don't...
Why would you even
okay, maybe not sending nuclear material, but for anybody listening, a great business idea is trash disposal, but you send it into the sun, so it all just burns up.
I would say send it to Jupiter. Jupiter's a big target. Send it there. It's a gas giant. Is it a gas giant? Is Jupiter a gas giant?
Okay.
I
still say send it into the sun.
What?
Put all the trash on a rocket instead of landfills, and the rockets just go directly into the sun.
I'm just saying, I don't want to mess with our sun. Our sun is what helps us live. Why would we shoot stuff at it?
Because it's big and hot and destroys everything.
Just shoot it. Just shoot the trash into the abyss. Into the blackness of space. Just get rid of it.
I'm so pro sun. Anyhow. Thank you all.
Shoot it to a different sun out there and see what happens to that sun before we, hit the sun that helps us live. How about that?
Fine.
It would probably take millions of years to get to another sun, but
anyhow, thank you all as always for listening or watching or however you're tuning in to this week's episode. As always, our reminders, make sure if you're watching on YouTube to smash. You should really put a sound effect in there. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube and click the bell. Click the bell for notifications. Make sure to become a Patreon subscriber if you enjoy the Artificial Podcast and want to support us and become an official member. Make sure to visit our Patreon page and take a look at the different membership levels that we have that you can subscribe to. Join our Discord community by heading over to our website. We're trying to grow our Discord community and provide multiple different ways to interact and announce new episodes and different things, and Discord is a very large part of that. Make sure to follow The Artificial Podcast on Facebook and Twitter at The Artificial P, and visit us on the web at www.theartificialpodcast.com.
We don't even have any people in our Discord yet, so if you want to come in and join and start posting stuff, feel free.
Part of that probably has to do with the fact that if you go to our website right now, I have not installed an SSL certificate
We haven't
yet,
even really advertised our Discord at all, so I shouldn't even expect anybody to be. But overall, the whole point of us saying it is it's finished now. We can come and join.
Overall, Brett and I have decided we're going to put a bit more tender, loving care into the podcast because it's not. We just feel we need to put some more effort into it. Anyhow, thank you as always for listening, and we'll be back next week.
See you later, everybody.
Artificial
Intelligent voice recognition.
machine learning.
Robotic.
You've been listening to the Artificial Podcast with your host, Nick Myers.
Nick Myers.
To stay up to date with all of our latest episodes, you can subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Or you can visit us on the web at www.theartificialpodcast.com. Until next time,